Hey all, new day, new verse, new chapter as we dig on into chapter 19. Today we're doing a discussion about divorce and marriage. Here we go. When Jesus had finished saying these things, he left Galilee and went down to the region of Judea, east of the Jordan River. Large crowds followed him there, and he healed their sick. Some Pharisees came and tried to trap him with this question. Should a man be allowed to divorce his wife for just any reason? Haven't you read the scriptures? Jesus replied. They record from the beginning God made them male and female. And he said, this explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Since they are no longer two but one, let no one split apart what God has joined together. Then why did Moses say in the law that a man could give his wife a written notice of divorce and send her away? They asked. Jesus replied, Moses permitted divorce only as a concession to your hard hearts. But it was not what God had originally intended. And I tell you this, whoever divorces his wife and marries someone else commits adultery, unless his wife has been unfaithful. Jesus' disciples then said to him, if this is the case, it is better not to marry. Not everyone can accept this statement, Jesus said, only those whom God helps. Some are born as eunuchs, some have been made eunuchs by others. And some choose not to marry, for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Let anyone accept this who can. There's a lot of richness in here. And, I love the fact that just as the point out as we get into it, Jesus sees the large crowds in need, and he heals their sick, true to who he is, showing that love. And the Pharisees coming in with this trap-like question. His response, I think, is kind of funny, because these are Pharisees and Sadducees. They know the Bible, and he's going, well, haven't you read? Getting to this idea between letter of the law and kind of spirit of it, I would say. Because, this idea here of this divorce and, tossing a person away. Because that's essentially what they were doing in Moses' time. And, not to that extent, but as time progressed, the question itself points out just the way they're thinking of it. For just any reason? Can I just cast another human being out for any reason that I want? And Jesus is going, no. Because, there is the man and the woman and two becoming one. And I'm still digging into that. I'm still trying to understand fully for my own part. In many ways, I'm seeing it God recognizing that we live in the gray, not that it's the original intent, when there are couples that look a different way. Because there's a whole lot there. Pro this, anti that, I really don't care. I'm still working on that in my own bit. The part that's been sticking out to me, though, is the love idea. Because as I was reading this, it made me chuckle a little bit that the disciples saying, if this is the case, it's better not to marry, especially since Peter was married. Because it strikes me here that the discussion that could be really talked about is covenant relationship, where you've chosen that person, you're with that person, be with that person. Through richer, through poorer, we have it in our own wedding vows, even though we have a remarkably high divorce rate in the West, especially in the States, and I think that is purely born out of not understanding covenant love. Love that Jesus has for the body. Love that says, I will go through hell to go get you. We unfortunately keep running headlong into that particular fire, but it strikes me interestingly that Jesus is pointing out something here that seems rather difficult to comprehend. And it is love that is far more than emotion. It is choice. Because the Pharisees' question itself is loaded as it gets. For just any reason. And the response to the core of it is, since they are no longer two but one, let no one split apart what God has joined together. It even kind of connects into the whole, if your eye causes you to sin, throw it out. Because if you've made that covenant relationship with that person, that means looking at other people with lust is out. It's not just a no, it's straight out. You don't get to. It is very different looking. And it's very, very much a type of love that seems reflective of how Jesus comes after us. I mean, we have the Song of Solomon giving this idea of, the bride and the bridegroom that we see reflected all throughout the Bible, this intimate love, this agape love, that, it has the emotion of what we perceive as love. It also has the choice. The choice of saying, okay, yeah, I could say screw this and bounce, but I made the choice to love you, to be with you. So I'm going to. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give in. I'm going to push through. And I'm going to push through in love. I'm not going to hold on to the wrongdoings. I'm not going to hold on to the pain. I'm not going to hold on to the past. I'm just choosing to love you, wiping the slate clean. So that if a fight breaks out, I'm not going to bring up something that happened months and months ago. I'm going to exist in the moment, choosing to actively love you, because the slate has already been wiped clean and you have been forgiven. That kind of active choice in these relationships, you can understand why the disciples are like, well, then it's better to not get married. Because it means that's it. You're with this person, you're with this person. If God brought you together, and this is the interesting thing, it is giving it over to God. It is saying, God, can I be with this person? Like, well, who are we? No, that is the kind of relationship here. He's God, we're not. Because we have somebody in our life who we may be wanting to be with through to lust, and God can have something better planned. It's about releasing that timing. Because God will do it. It's interesting, we have this idea that, when you stop looking for love, you'll find it. How we have that idea kind of makes me go deeper. If you start chasing after real love, God's love, then the rest of it falls in. Seek first the kingdom, and all will be added. It's the kind of idea here. Because this is the type of relationship that I'm seeing him talk about in marriage. That it is the kind of love that God shows us. The kind of love that the bridegroom has for his bride. Jesus for the body. That kind of self-sacrificial, other-focused agape love. And looking at this, I know it's a longer section for a shorter bit, but like I said, I'm still working on it. I'm still digging into this richer and deeper. Because, I see in the verse the whole argument about anti-gay and anti-all that other crap, and it feels like it's missing the point. It's like, well, see, this is a section that says you can't have a gay relationship. Okay, but I'm going to take a stab and say that the gay couple who's been together for 40 years, never cheated on each other, and putting up with everything thick and thin together, it's probably following closer to the spirit of love than the hetero couple who's been married for 40 years and both of them are raging alcoholics or users to compensate for the fact that their spouse is cheating on them or looking at pornography all the time or doesn't want to be anywhere near them. Which is actually love. Because to me it's a spirit versus letter of the law thing. Well, a letter of the law. Well, Moses said we could get divorced. Okay, but that wasn't the original intent. The intent is something far deeper. Far richer, far more unfathomable because it's God's way of doing it. And his ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. And so trying to dig into the idea of what his love looks like and what that's supposed to look like reflected in. I mean, even Paul kind of hints on it with the way a husband is supposed to support his wife and a wife is supposed to support her husband. But it goes deeper to me. Because I find myself flabbergasted that we get into these fights over seemingly nothing, and in turn act like Ezra-Nehemiah rather than like Christ followers. This moment of, I'll give you an example from Ezra. They were told they're not supposed to intermarry from the people in the land. And so in trying to follow the letter of that, they have a ton of divorces throughout the people of Israel, creating, in real time, orphans and widows. Because the children of these intermarriages were cast out too. Which means the people that the Bible says were supposed to be looked after, the orphan, the widow, and the immigrant, were created. 2 of the groups, and 3 if they're straight out cast out of Israel, where they've lived their entire lives. So in following the Spirit, you completely ignore, or following the letter, you completely ignore the spirit of what's written there. Oh, we don't want to be with people of the land because they might contaminate us. So you're going to cast out families and make them think that God is only interested in one select group of people based on their genealogy? That's so not... Why would Gentiles be welcomed into the kingdom then? If that were the case. Why would Jesus' own bloodline, David's bloodline, have at least 3 women in it that were not Israel by birth? One of whom was a prostitute by trade. So tell me that. Because this is where I'm digging. This is where I'm trying to understand. I want to get deeper past these superficial arguments and deeper into the idea of God's love. Of that kind of covenant marriage that brings everything to bear, holds no wrongs, treats the other person with intimacy, being 2 as 1. Because I'm willing to bet there are a lot of marriages out there that are man and woman, but are in no way 2 becoming as 1. Often I find myself praying, God, bring together what you have brought together, and let no one interfere, praying that same Bible verse. Because there is this tendency to walk away from that kind of love, especially where it's supposed to be seen most, in marriage. And yeah, it's difficult. I mean, there is a reason even one of the married disciples is going, that's a high bar. And Jesus' response, yeah. Not everyone will be able to accept it. God will help you accept it. Only those whom God helps will be able to accept it. That some are born meant to be just for God. Some are put into those positions by others, by the cruelty of this world. And then there are some who choose to make themselves as such because they don't want to live that game. All of it is going to God and asking Him what He wants to do. Because He may have something planned out way bigger and way more enjoyable. But it's about releasing it to Him. All of it. Even releasing the understanding of the verse has to be given over to Him. Because He is the source of wisdom. All of it has to come from an intimate personal relationship with His Spirit. Saying, God, I don't understand this. I don't know how to fully accept it, but I know it's your word. So give me eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart to receive. Because I want to go off of God's original intended design, not the broken shell we're currently playing around with. And I wonder if you feel the same. I wonder if you feel like maybe relationships would look a little different if we lived like that. If we loved like that. It is not easy. But God gives us strength. So even in the trials, we can have joy. Because God gives us the ability to make it through. And that's where I am with this. That I want to love like that, even while I'm still trying to understand the rest. I'm looking forward to continuing on tomorrow into verses 13 through 15, where Jesus blesses the children. Unless God has something me to add for tomorrow on this. I look forward to it. I will see you guys then. May His favor be upon you. Know that you are loved. And know that that kind of love is something that He gives. Because He is the source of all love. I'll see you guys then. And hold strong. Because He'll never let you go. Bye.